hear it in a whole new way.
That's great.
Cool. Stripped down performances from groundbreaking musicians and emerging artists. Plus, the stories behind the songs. This is SiriusXMU Sessions. So I'm talking to a couple of 949ers on this SiriusXMU session. Hey, it's me, Jerome. I'm talking to Taylor and Ryan from Local Natives. And this isn't your first SiriusXMU session. The last time I think we talked to you was back in 2019, right before the world shut down. So hopefully we have better luck this time right here, guys. But welcome.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be back. It was kind of like, comforting going back to that studio and doing a session. It felt like all is right with the world again. It felt good.
Yeah. For everybody that's just discovering you for the first time, almost 20 years into your career, album number 6, But I'll Wait For You. What's like the brief 2-minute bio of Local Natives?
Well, I love that you're giving us a 20-year career. That's amazing.
I'll take it.
It's not 20?
Well, I mean, so Ryan and I, if you want to go from the real beginning, from the 949 days, then Ryan and I met when we were 12 years old, and we started playing guitar when we were 13 in like junior high. So we've been playing music together through, high school, through college and everything. And then Local Natives and like our first record, that was really like 2009. And yeah, but we've been like, Ryan and I been doing this for way over half of our lives now.
Yeah, I'm gonna count those 20 years, like when we were in junior high and everything. That feels good.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
And brief side note, how do you feel about people from the 714?
I was not anticipating
714 is all right. It's the 909 that really gives me pause.
Okay,
well,
so see,
our drummer Matt is from the 909, so we've always just had this like running gag for I'm sure he loves it, our whole existence.
See, I grew up in the 714 and I live in the 909 now, so.
Oh, amazing.
This might be a little, I have a little beef now. It's the first time ever, though, talking to some fellow Orange Countyers on a SiriusXMU session. So thank you for being my first.
That's right. It's all love. It's all love now. I think those very hostile rivalries that burned so deep when we were in junior high and high school, they've lightened up now. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're cool. We're cool with all y'all now.
People don't understand, like, it's really a rivalry, like within the area codes, especially like the 949 and 714 area codes in Orange County, because you have South Orange County where you guys are from and North Orange County where I grew up at. But like when you look at like the Orange County, music scene, like a lot of the bands do come from South Orange County. What do you think it is about like that particular area where you guys are from that like makes itself so ripe for bands to come out of it?
When we were growing up there was like the scene we were into, there's like a really heavy hardcore scene, like a very deep hardcore scene. And then there was kind of this like post-punk, and then like emo was really like going off. So like all of our first shows were like in basements with like hardcore and screamo and like emo bands.
Like what bands, like Seosin?
Yep, totally. What were the other big ones, right?
I mean, the big like hardcore bands were like 18 Visions and Throwdown, and I mean, we would just go to this venue, Chain Reaction, and just like watch. Yeah, it's right, and just like kind of whoever was playing. I remember like Dashboard like did like 3 nights there back in the day, and it was like as if the Rolling Stones were coming to town in the emo scene. It was wild.
I love that. And then like when you take the Orange County music scene, right, and compare that to Los Angeles, like do you hear those regional differences that might have manifested themselves in your music?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think like then being LA and like we've identified as an LA band. I love how you bring in the Orange County like so hard, and it's the real us. I love that. And I think like we were still kind of too young to be playing out in the scene in Orange County and like really making friends with those artists, but we really did that in LA. So in LA, we moved to LA in like what, 2007 or 8? I guess 8, right after college.
Like you said that, bringing Orange County is getting back to the real you. And I feel like these, past 2 releases are in a way getting back to the core of Local Natives.
Yeah, these like 2 records together represent like a very kind of like vulnerable and like pretty emotional time period for us and for the band. A lot of it was us getting back to like playing around an acoustic guitar. And like, I think there's always a conversation. There's like what you did kind of previously does in some way inform what comes next. The last album we did was Violet Street, which is this very maximalist, very frenetic, like energetic, wild record making process. And this was like, okay, let's sit around a guitar, let's sit around a piano, kind of back to that. That is kind of how we also wrote Gorilla Manor, our first record. So in a way, it did kind of harken back to that era of having the song be really stripped and raw and then like built from that place.
Violet Street was last time that you talked to us on a SiriusXMU session. That was back in 2019, and we got a performance of When Am I Gonna Lose You that we still play on SiriusXMU. So like, let's do something fun right now and get like the 2024 version.
Okay. Yeah, we can play that for you again.
Awesome. So let's do that. This is the 2024 SiriusXMU exclusive performance of When Am I Gonna Lose You?
1, 2, 3. Wait, when am I gonna lose you? How will I let you slip through? Careless or unkind? Trace the curving of the coastline, the Santa Lucia cliffside. We'll stay here for the night. I remember you said everything has its place. Now we lie in our bed, wondering how to explain. Start and crave the silhouette of you dancing, the shadow play that we're casting on the cabin wall. You were floating to me in a slow motion fade. Could I finally see between belief and faith? Shutters and laying down by my side, and the light that was still slipping through was painting your body in stripes. I remember the trees tumbling down like an archangel choir, and the ocean was all we could see, and I knew that I wanted you. I remember you closing the shutters and laying down by my side, and the light that was still slipping through, it was painting your body in stripes. I remember the trees tumbling down like an archangel choir, and the ocean was all we could see, and I knew that I wanted you.
So I'm talking to Taylor and Ryan from Local Natives, but I'll Wait for You is the new album. It's the companion piece to last year's Time Will Wait for No One. Whose idea was that?
I mean, that stemmed from a lyric, honestly, that I'd had for a long time, and it finally came to place, or I found a place for it on "Time Will Wait for No One," and it just seemed to kind of like sum up this like mantra for like the time and place that we were at making that record, and it kind of was like this like umbrella for like the whole like basically body of work. It's the first lyric on "Time Will Wait for No One," and it's the last lyric on "But I'll Wait for You." Yeah, just kind of bookending the whole thing.
When you were halfway through writing Time Will Wait for No One, you had a performance at the Greek Theater, which was your first performance in 2 years. Like, take us back to that moment that you reunited out of lockdown as local natives and stepped on stage for a hometown show.
Oh man. Yeah, that show is so emotional. Such a crazy moment. It was really like that was the week that the Greek in LA reopened for the first time. So it was the first time that like anybody was allowed to go see a concert, and because it's an outdoor space, so it was a hometown show. It's like sold out. It's like the longest we hadn't played live literally since I think we were probably 15 years old. Also, for me, like I had become a father pretty shortly before that, like right before the pandemic, and it was my son's first show. You're just really bringing me back to the headspace. And then,
How was it having him at that first show? Like seeing his dad, getting a chance to share what you've been doing for at that point 17 years.
yeah, it was truly incredible. It was really amazing. This, like, I found later somebody in the audience, like a fan, had taken a photo of my son who was like up on the shoulders of my friend watching. And you can see like my son with his headphones on, and then you can like see the stage and you can see us and see him watching us. And I have that photo framed in my studio
Love it.
now. And it's just like such a really cool, beautiful thing to be able to experience after all that isolation, you know?
Hmm.
But the backdrop for the band as well was like, we'd been on, this treadmill of what it's like to be in a band, a very democratic band with multiple singers and songwriters. And, we're essentially like family and like married to each other, and then kind of thrust apart into this isolated time. And we were, I think like a lot of people during that time, re-examining everything, re-examining our relationship to our career and to what we were going through. And like a kind of an unstable time. We like weren't sure if local natives was going to continue in the same way, like from that show. So that was also the backdrop of it. It was just like a really emotional night.
And I think the other piece of the puzzle too, playing that show, was like you kind of like we're so insular. We're like making this record together. We're working on our relationships. But then you forget, that there's this whole other component of like the audience and like the people that had come to see us, and that connection that we'd like missed so dearly. Experiencing it again was just so powerful for us, and kind of like, yeah, I don't know. There was just so much that like we reconnected with at that show, and I think really helped us kind of propel us forward, making all this music.
And like you said, you reconnected not only at that show, but also like in the studio as a band, and all that material just came spilling out of you over essentially what are two albums now. The first of which is Time Will Wait for No One, right? Um,
Yeah.
on that album in particular, there's a song that's in a way, I guess, attributed to this burst of creativity. Like, talk to me about that feeling of creating just before the morning, and that reconnection in the studio and that brotherhood that you experienced during that session in particular for that song.
Yeah, I think like that was one of the ones that was after we'd gotten our footing and we were really starting to feel like we were like flowing again, we'd kind of reconnected, and there was just something about making that song. That was one that I'd brought to the table that I think we just all really connected with it, and the process itself was really joyful. Like I just remember having a lot of fun. Like I was even just kind of like flipping through like my like camera roll looking at like videos of that time, and it was just like we're just being silly guys. Like we were just like, I don't know. It felt like that's the weird thing being in a band. As long as we've been like we're kind of making music. We're still doing a lot of the same things we were doing when we were teenagers, and I like a lot of that. It keeps us young, and we kind of don't take ourselves too seriously, and we still have these insane inside jokes. And yeah, something about making that song just like again allowed us to reconnect to like what we really enjoyed about making music together.
The song, it explores like the cyclical nature of life. They say like
Hmm.
the ways like we begin anew, and like for a lot of us, this was the first song that we heard off Time Will Wait for No One. And in a way, it kind of sounded like it marked this next chapter in the band's history and in your legacy.
Yeah, I think Just for the Morning has like big fresh start energy, you know? Like that's the vibe of the song and like the lyrics as well. And as Ryan said, the process. Like I think a lot of these two records was exercising like personal existential crises. Like there's some really vulnerable and heavy material that we were all working through personally and individually and together across these two records. There's some like heavy topics, but one thing that I think like over all this time, Local Natives, there's always like a good degree of like earnestness and like hope in our music. And I think it's just a little bit like who we are, and it's just kind of what comes out. And to me, Just for the Morning really had that flavor to it. Like Ryan said, like we put that song together, we put it in the room, and it just felt like amazing, you know, like feeling this energy off of each other, everybody like coming up with these really like beautiful and interesting parts playing off each other. It's like a very classic like band in a room track. This song like really came together pretty fast, and that's also kind of rare when you just catch the energy of that wave and like ride it all the way in.
Let's listen to Local Natives, the SiriusXMU session performance of Just Before the Morning.
Just before the morning, starting all over, you go. Just before the morning, starting all over, you go. Always on your mind, soon as you awake, until you close your eyes. Nobody ever explains, but somehow you learn. Just before the morning, starting all over, you go. Just before the morning, another song around, starting over, falling from the clouds. You go. Just before the morning, you going down, starting over. No, you don't need it now. You go. Just before the man, it's been a while. She laughs and exhales, the car's waiting outside. The years stay like melted wax. I call this a curse. We always arrive a moment too late, and I can't help feeling like it couldn't be any other way. Just before the morning, starting all over, you go.
Hey, it's me, Jerome. I'm talking to Taylor and Ryan from Local Natives on this Sirius XMU session. Like, what are your favorite stories that fans have shared with you about like connecting to your music in that way?
Yeah, there's so many that come to mind. I think like one thing that we did pretty recently is we celebrated the 10-year anniversary of our second record called Hummingbird. And we played these like 2 nights at this really beautiful venue in LA. It's called the Ford Theater,
Okay.
like in the hills, kind of next to the Bulb. And it kind of looks like a Shakespearean play is about to go on. But it's kind of like it's like 1,200 people. It's kind of like an intimate setting. And it's such a cool spot. And we just put up these 2 shows and we played that whole record front to back. And that album has a lot to do with loss and grief and
Mhm.
like death of family. It's like it's definitely a cathartic.
It's heavy.
It's a heavy cathartic album to experience. And I think that our fans that have connected with that, they often share with us, like, I found this record when I was going through a loss and, was going through a really difficult time. And so I think that just like really obviously came through. And we got to hear like a lot of stories about that when we
Hmm.
did that special anniversary show. And that always, yeah, it's like amazing to hear how an album that we made like really, lived alongside somebody as they experienced that.
And what story do you have behind April off of But I'll Wait for You?
Yeah, I mean, April's another one that kind of felt like it really energized us, like in the record making process. We had almost basically finished the second record, and we were like, we need like one more just to kind of balance out the record. And that was another like late arrival that, again, we all kind of rallied around and just had a lot of fun making.
Yeah, I think April, in a way, it is kind of like the just before the morning of the second record.
Mhm.
In that,
Yeah,
and there's like a lot of like dense material on the album. And what was special about April is that it represented the part that was just like really, really fun and had like a lot of energy and excitement to it.
like
And
for example, I felt like we had the song and then it was basically halftime. Like it just kind of felt like it was like grooving, like a head bobber. And then at some point I was like, what would it sound like if we tried to make it like that Basement Jaxx song, Where's Your Head At? And just like flip it so that it's like a driving drum beat. And that just kind of like unlocked something like just really fun and different for us, I felt like.
The music video for April was inspired by the conversation of Francis Ford Coppola film, like when you talk about heavy. What is that? I guess the connection between that film and the video, because also the conversation was also screened at the short film for April as well.
yeah, the inspiration for that really goes to the credit of our director, Jonathan Chu. And he's a collaborator. We've worked with him on the last 2 records that we've made on different music videos. But on this, we just had like a way more ambitious idea. We wanted to make this film that accompanied the record, and we're like acting in the film, and we have scenes and we have bits.
Acting is yeah, generous.
And you
Generous
have
term.
choreographed dance moves. Can't forget about that.
And
Right.
the choreographed dance, like we were really going into new territory. It was an ambitious project and take. And so the inspiration, it really was more technical. The
Mhm.
opening of the conversation,
The
it's like
sequence,
over
yeah,
this
the intro.
plaza, and it's a one shot with this camera with this super long zoom. And it's kind of like exploring like what's happening around this big plaza. And really, that was the technical inspiration for it. And so the video for April was so fun to make. It was in Pershing Square in Los Angeles, and the camera was 7 stories up. And the zoom on this thing is so insane. It can go like 300 yards and zoom in perfectly on a face, like very clearly. And we did this whole choreographed, like really wild kind of concept and used that camera to do this one shot video. It was really fun to make.
Did you have the area blocked off, or were you just like out there just doing these random dance moves? People walk
What's so
past you.
amazing about that is we were a little worried about that because we definitely did not permit it, which would have been crazy. And then you also want like action and cars and people, we did not have $10 million to make the music video. So, but what was so funny is that nobody bat an eye about what we were
No.
like out there, like doing a choreographed dance. Like nobody even gave it a second look. It was so like normal within the realm of like what's happening in
In
Pershing.
Pershing Square,
There's
yes.
a lot of
It's so
strange things
normal.
happening. Like no one even like noticed. I think one guy like came up like mid take, mid like to Nick and was like, what's going on? Are you guys like practicing a TikTok dance or like something? And just like but everything else, like no one cared.
This is the April SiriusXMU session performance with local natives.
April, I'm dying to know what you're thinking. Somewhere, sometimes, do you feel the same thing? It's on my mind, it won't let go. Forever chemicals. Oh, why is it that when it's over, feels like there's still time? I remember you climbed on my shoulders, naming the lines on Figaro. It's on my mind, it won't let go. Always one more episode. 'Cause even when it's all over, feels like there's still time. My time on the way home. If you didn't know how I felt, April, now you know. And I wonder where you are. Chilling fence around the vacant lot. And I wonder where you are. Nighttime on the way home. If you didn't know how I felt, April, now you know.
So, But I'll Wait for You is the second of, would you call them, are they double albums? Not double albums, right? Because they're released differently.
We're calling them conjoined records, sister
Are
records.
you? Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I know I haven't
Companion
said
pieces.
conjoined. That's the first time I've said it.
Yeah, I was like, I've never heard you say that.
Somebody just said it's like the sequel to a film, which I liked. Like it's its own record, but it's very much tied to it and in the world. I mean, it basically is a double album, but I think it's like it's its own world. They were both made in the same era, but not at exactly the same time. So once we were like writing and it was all flowing, there was just so much more to the story and like more coming out that we had to do. So yeah, I think you can call them like companion records.
Like, of everything that you've experienced together as a band, what's like the number one takeaway, like the biggest, I guess, accomplishment, or like the biggest lesson that you've learned from your time together?
I mean, I think it's like what comes to mind is the title of the two companion records. Like it is the theme that came out across all of this music is that time away for no one. You know, that was so apparent when the whole kind of world stopped and it was like, wow, like it doesn't feel like you're a completely different person, today from yesterday, but the reality is that like time is absolutely like warping and melting like all the realities around us, even to kind of like who we are. And like I think what you have in that is your choice and your dedication to what you want to do with your like precious kind of valuable time. And that was a lesson that we were like learning in all kinds of ways, but definitely as a band, and it's like it's a really beautiful thing to allow each other to have like all of this baggage, to have known Ryan since he was 12. And in a ways that can be hard, right? Like you can kind of put somebody in a box, your friend or your parent or whatever. And it's a beautiful thing to like release that and let somebody be new, let the relationship be dynamic and flourish and change. So I think like that's definitely been the meditation of this whole last several years of our lives and all of this music.
Totally. And then, as you know, we close out SiriusXMU sessions with a cover performance. And today we get to add another cover into that list. You're going to be covering Sadness as a Gift, who we know from Adrian Lenker. Before we get that SiriusXMU session performance of it, like, what is your connection to this song?
I just fell in love with Adrian's music, I think as so many did over the last couple of years. And with this new release, I've just been like hanging on every single song. But this one just really spoke to me like so immediately. It feels so kind of like beautiful and classic and raw and honest, all at the same time, just immediately. I just think she's an incredible lyricist and songwriter. And we thought that we could do something with it with the harmonies as well. So we decided to cover this.
And we'll get your SiriusXMU session performance of it right now. But I'll Wait for You is the new album from Local Natives, the companion piece to last year's Time Will Wait for No One. There's also tour dates all throughout the month of May as well, which can be found at localnatives.com. Taylor, Ryan, thank you for taking the time to talk to me on this SiriusXMU session. And let's talk again in the future. Hopefully not 5 years from now. Let's make it sooner, okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You and I both know there is nothing more to say. Chance to shut her shining eyes and turn her face away. Leaning on a windowsill, you could write me someday, and I think you will. We could see the sadness as a gift and still feel too heavy to hold. Snow falling, I try to keep from calling. Watch the spring turn to winter, fireflies all frozen. The seasons go so fast, thinking that this one was gonna last. Maybe the question was too much to ask. Been searching for your eyes, all I see is blue skies. And that old man beats his crooked cane. It's time to let go. Leaning on a windowsill, you could write me someday, and I bet you will. We could see the sadness as a gift and still. The seasons go so fast, thinking that this one was gonna last. Maybe the question was too much to ask. You and I could see into the same eternity. Every second brimming with a majesty. Oh, kiss so sweet, so fine, you could hear the music inside my mind. And you showed me a place I'll find, even when I'm old, just leaning on a windowsill. You could write me someday and I hope you will. We could see the sadness as a gift and still. The seasons go so fast, thinking that this one was gonna last. Maybe the question